Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Jana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Harinam Sankirtan ki jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai Assemble Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much for joining our Gita discussion today, August 15. Happy Independence Day to those from India. Hare Krishna. So, we are trying to be independent from this material world. Not from just the people, but from everything in this material world. And the way to become independent is given in our Bhagavad Gita by Lord Krishna himself. How we become independent from this material dependency. So, let's go to our sections. Let me see, sharing. It's a little bit tricky for share screen. Okay, the PowerPoint. So now here is the sections of Chapter 4 we are discussing. Chapter 4 is the transcendental knowledge, and there are 5 sections. We covered verse 1 to 3 last time. We'll continue from verse 4 onwards. We are in the first section. It's about transcendental knowledge about Krishna. So Lord Krishna tells how this knowledge is coming. He tells in the first verse that first of all he gave this knowledge to whom? Aditya? Are you there? Let's see who is there. Rashi, are you there?
Hare Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna. Okay. So whom did Lord Krishna give the knowledge of Gita first time? as per
Sir,
this chapter?
Ikshvaku, sir.
Huh? Ikshvaku is third one in that in that sloka. So thank you. Ikshvaku
Manu,
is
sir.
one of them. Yeah. So he
Manu.
gave to. Huh?
Manu, sir.
God.
Yeah. He is one step above Ikshvaku. Yeah. And then who is the father of Manu? Let's see.
Vishwan,
What?
sun god.
Vivashwan. You said Vivashwan?
Yeah, Vivaswan.
Vivashwan. Who is Vivashwan?
Sun god.
Sun god. Yes. Okay. The ruling deity, the president of Sun planet is Vivashwan. Aditya.
Yes, sir.
So Lord Krishna gave this transcendental knowledge first to Sun God Vivashwan. Why he gave to Sun God Vivashwan? We discussed that because he is the luminary. He can enlighten other planets, right? Lord Krishna is illuminating because of Lord Krishna's transcendental body. The illumination comes out, and that is the Brahma Jyoti glow. And the secondary reflection is on the sun. Okay. So sun is also luminary. Therefore, Lord Krishna gave this knowledge to sun god Vivashwan, and Vivashwan gave to his son Manu, and Manu gave to his son Ikshvaku. In that is the Surya Vans. Lord Ram is there. So that's how the knowledge is coming. And Lord Krishna says the knowledge is given to whom? Raj Rishis. So the kings, saintly kings, right? Because the king's duty is to help the citizens to go back to Godhead. Last chapter we learned about that the lust is binding us in this material world, right? So the king's duty is to protect the citizens, not only their bodies, but their consciousness from the lust, so that they all can perfect their life and go back to Godhead. So that's the duty of king. So every leader of every country must be facilitating for giving this knowledge to their citizens, so that they can be protected from material lust and they can go back to Godhead, right? So therefore we are in this chapter, transcendental knowledge. So this is given to the saintly kings, but somehow it was broken, the link was broken, and now Lord Krishna is reviving again through Arjuna. So now we'll go to verse 4. Now in verse 4, Arjuna is asking question. Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivashvatah katham etad vijaniyam tamado proktavan iti. Okay, let's see. Raji, can you read translation?
Yes. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivashwan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed the signs to him?
Yes. So Vivaswan, sun god, is senior by birth. So he's thinking that Lord Krishna is his contemporary. That means they are similar age. They are cousins, right? So he's saying that you are like almost my age. Then how come you gave this knowledge to sun god? Srila Prabhupada says that if someone says like, oh, yesterday I went to the moon and I got this gift from moon, here it is for you. So someone says like that, then other person will think, what you are saying, man? Are you mad or what? Can you really go to moon? But Lord Krishna is not like that. Lord Krishna is for real. He is eternal. Eternally is existing. So the answer comes in the next verse, that how Lord Krishna says this, Lord Krishna tells this. So some people may not accept Krishna's position that Krishna is transcendental, Krishna is eternal. They may have their own idea that Krishna is not Supreme Personality of Godhead. He may be like one more powerful than us, but he's not supreme authority. So they may have their own logic about Krishna. Krishna is ordinary, another human being, like that. So Arjuna is a pure devotee, right? Arjuna understands Krishna's position. So what he is doing is, he is trying to eradicate the logics of the demoniac people, so that innocent people like us will not be affected by the commentary of these demoniac people. So that all of us can get the real knowledge from Lord Krishna. So Arjuna is trying to help all of us. So Lord Krishna reveals his transcendental position about his birth and activities from verse 5 up to verse 10 in this section. This entire section is about Lord Krishna's birth and activities from here onwards to verse 10. So verse 5, Lord Krishna replies, Sri Bhagavanu Vacha Bahunye Vyatitani Janmani Tava Arjuna Tani Aham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa. Okay, who is next? Swami Mataji? You there?
Yes, Prabhuji. The personality of Godhead said, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy.
Thank you. So Parantapa is subduer of the enemy, who can chastise, who can punish the enemies, who can control the enemies. So Parantapa. So Arjuna is Parantapa, can control the enemies, but he cannot remember his past life. But Lord Krishna remembers all his activities in the past. Whatever the incarnation he took, whatever the activity he performed, everything he remembers. But Arjuna does not remember. So this is because of a certain reason. We read in the purport that there are different features of Krishna, that you have impersonal feature, you have localized feature, you have personalized feature. So Srila Prabhupada will quote in purport, we will read that there are different degrees of realization of these different aspects of God. So those who are perfect seers, so those who have perfected, like they are seeing perfectly, that means the most advanced realization, most perfect understanding of God is the personality of God. Okay, so that's what Srila Prabhupada tells from the purport, and he quotes the verse Achyutam, without a second, Anadim, Anantarupam. So this verse we will read. Adyam Purana Purusam Navayanam Cha. He is always youth. Although he is the oldest, he is infallible, and he is the perfect personality of Godhead. He is source of all others. So still he is Nayayana. It's not that like he is the oldest person, so he looks like a old people. He is always transcendental. The jivas, the living entities, we are influenced by the time, but Lord Krishna is never influenced by time. So the further verse that Vedesu Durlavam Adurlavam Atma Bhakta. So we'll read in purport all of this, that those who have bhakti to Krishna, they can understand about Lord Krishna's transcendental nature. That Lord Krishna's body is transcendental. Because of the transcendental means like he is not having material body. Because he is a spiritual body, he appears in his self-same spiritual body. He is always spiritual, so he never forget. We forget because we change our body by force, by our karma. But Krishna is never forced by karma. He never have karma because he never comes under the modes. We get karma because we are entangled in the material concept. But Krishna is always transcendental. So to understand Krishna's position, simply by scholarship, simply by reading, we cannot understand. But we have to gradually, by reading the association of devotees, we have to take the matter seriously, as Srila Prabhupada describes in his purport, that we have to practice the devotional service. That means we have to start hearing Krishna's glory, how Krishna is wonderful, and how Krishna is providing everyone's need, how Krishna is in everyone's heart. So gradually, when you understand Krishna's glory, he is Achyutam, Anantam, Anadi Rupam, then by hearing, we naturally, Krishna says, naturally, if you understand that I am the source of everything, I am friend of everyone, then naturally you will develop affection for me. So even if you don't have natural affection for Krishna, at least we can understand. So by example of Srila Prabhupada's purport, that we are suffering in this material world, and Krishna is reservoir of all pleasure. Krishna is inviting us back to his abode to live happily with him eternally. So we can start this process of chanting Hare Krishna. In this age, we can connect with Krishna by chanting his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. By chanting and praying, we become bhakta. We become devotees. When we further develop our love, attachment for Krishna, gradually, our love becomes more intense and intense, and Krishna reveals himself. So that's how we can know about Krishna, but not just academically. That's what it is. So I will leave these things. I will just skip to verse 6, and today we'll go back to the book and read up to verse 6, 4, 5, 6 today, hopefully. So Lord Krishna is further elaborating his how he appears in this world. Lord Krishna says, Ajopi san avyaya atma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swamadhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Okay, Anil Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, Prabhu, I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah, although I'm unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, my internal energy, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form.
Thank you, Prabhu. So he says he appears in his original transcendental form all the time. So he does not come under the material influence, but he is always transcendental spiritual. He has always transcendental body, which is different than all the jivas. So that is why Srila Prabhupada says that he never forgets, because he is always in that spiritual body. So let us go back and read the verses and purport by Srila Prabhupada. So just give an overview, and now we can go and then read those verses. So let's see, sharing another one. Okay, verse 4.4. So let us see who can read next. Oh, Lavlina Mataji, you are there today. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yeah, I
Hare
can.
Krishna Mataji. Yeah. Can you read the translation and
Yeah,
purport, Mataji?
yeah, sure, Prabhu. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Prabhu, can you scroll up? Yeah. Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord. So how could he not believe Krishna's word? The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, and the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as son of Devaki on the earth. How Krishna remained the same supreme personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the supreme authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from the time immemorial. And the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons who always try to distort him in a way understandable to demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone for his own interest know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious. Prabhu, sorry, I lost that line.
For all, auspicious for all.
Auspicious for all world. To the demons, such explanation by Krishna himself may appear to be strange because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint, but those who are devotees heartedly welcome the statement of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statement of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheist who considered Krishna as an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is Superman and that he is Sachidanand Vigraha, the internal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental and he is always above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna like Arjuna is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna putting this question before Lord is simply an attempt by devotee to defy the aesthetic attitude of person who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being subject to the mode of material nature.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, as we read last week, Lord Krishna says, I want to revive this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita because there was some broken link in the chain of established succession from Vivaswan. So I want to revive this from you. And what reason he gave? And you will recall that why he want to give this knowledge to Krishna. What is Lord Krishna gives to Arjuna? What was the qualification of Arjuna?
He is a devotee.
Yes, he's a devotee. And second, Bhaktosi mein. And second one, anyone? Anyone?
He follows dharma.
He follows dharma, yes. But right now he is hesitating to follow his dharma, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So Lord Krishna says, I will give this knowledge. I am reviving this knowledge from you now because you are my bhakta and you are my sakha. Bhaktos means sakha chet.
Sakha.
Chet. Yeah. So you are my devotee and you are my friend. So Srila Prabhupada says that yes, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita therefore can be understood by those who are devotees and friends of Krishna. So yes, we have to also become Krishna's devotee and Krishna's friend to understand Bhagavad Gita. So at least we may not be a friend like like Arjuna is, but we can become friend, like open our heart and always accept Krishna's direction. So in a friendly way. So not like the demon here. The demons always question authority of Krishna, but the devotees, they always Krishna's viewpoint. We may not understand Krishna, what Krishna wants to convey. That does not mean that we have to reject. Sometimes we get the very surprising instruction or something we cannot understand. But that does not mean that because we cannot fit in our brain that Krishna is telling something false. When Krishna says, I gave this knowledge to Vivashwan, the attitude of Arjuna is that, oh Krishna, come on man, you are joking. He did not say like that. He accepted Krishna, but simply he wanted to understand and clarify for all of us. So even though we don't understand what Krishna is saying at this moment, but when we open our heart, yes, Krishna is always right. It is because of my own, limited capacity, I'm not able to understand. Then gradually, in that mood, like we can understand. So, submission, service, and inquiry. These are the three things we will learn in this chapter further. That how we approach the spiritual master with submission. So we have to be, open heart. We have to be devotee to understand this. And the demons, because they outrightly reject, they cannot understand. That's what Srila Prabhupada's sharing in this purport. Okay. So any question on this before we move to the next one? Okay. So Krishna will give more information. Let's move. Okay, verse 5. Lord Krishna says, so who is the next one who can read? Any? Okay, so Mitra Mataji, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. The personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda,
No,
Krishna,
there is one more. There is one more line before.
in the, oh sorry, in the Brahma Samhita, we have a information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning, although expanded into unlimited forms. He is still the same original, the oldest, and the person, always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure, unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda Krishna, who's always situated in various incarnations such as Rama, Narasimha, and many sub-incarnations as well, but who is the original personality of Godhead known as Krishna and who incarnates personally also. In the Vedas, also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in a innumerable forms. He is like a Vaidurya stone, which changes color, it still remains one. All those multiforms are understood by the pure, unalloyed devotees, but not by the simple study of the Vedas. Vedasu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companion of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of those devotees, and in the verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is the Lord remembered the incident, whereas Arjuna could not remember. This is the that is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Also, although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who comes subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, as a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible Achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in the material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. But by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the Lord. He sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. But by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non devotee or a demon cannot understand his transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita can be understood by a demonic brains. Krishna
Cannot be.
remembered acts which were Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are remembers because he
No,
does not change.
no. Both of them are eternal in nature.
Okay, Prabhuji.
One
He
line
does
before.
okay. He does not change his
No,
Saksid
you have to read
Anand.
one more line before.
Oh, sorry. Krishna remembered. So Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that the living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Sakshi Ananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity. Even when he descends to the material platform, the demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse.
Yes.
Okay.
So Srila Prabhupada tells here that we may note that a living entity forgets everything due to his change of body. So because of the After the death, there is a reincarnation, change of the body, and there is the forgetfulness of the past. But the Lord remembers. Why? Because he does not change his Sachidananda body. Like when we are in this lifetime, many things we can remember. There is the whole life is fun. We can remember our childhood, many things. We may not remember when we were baby, but as long as we got our memory from very young age, we remember many things. But we don't remember our past life. But Lord Krishna is always in Sachidananda body, so he remembers his past life. He never forgets. His body is always transcendental. So here two verses quoted by Srila Prabhupada, Brahma Samhita, how Lord Krishna's body is. He is infallible, absolute, without beginning. Although he has an expansion into many forms, and he descends in different avtaras, still he is the same original oldest person. And all different incarnations come, but he remains as he is. Lord Krishna incarnations, that doesn't mean that like he has left one body and then he has changed his body. It's not like that we are changing the body. All the expansions of Krishna, Rama or Narasimha, all of them, they are eternally in the spiritual world. They come and go to different planets. Krishna can go anywhere. Everything is his property. He can visit anywhere. He can come, he can go, he can, whatever he wants, it is his property. So he may be in material world, he may be in spiritual world, he may be in both places, he's always there everywhere. So although he takes different incarnations, he appears in different forms, that does not mean that he is changing body like we are changing body. Prabhupada is giving example of Vaidurya stone, which changes color, still remains one. So it is one stone, but from different angles, if you see the Vaidurya Mani, it looks different. So like, the devotees look Krishna from the closest perspective. So Krishna is person. Somebody who is looking Krishna from very far distance, very less realization of God, is thinking that Krishna is Brahma. Krishna is impersonal Brahma. If they move a little bit closer towards Krishna consciousness, then they think Krishna is seated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. But then when they have full realization, they understand Krishna is person, original person, Adi Purusam. Govindam Adi Purusam Tvamaham Bhajami. That's Brahma's prayer. Okay, so let's cover the last verse of today, verse 6. Okay, we have also another bigger paragraph. Maybe we can divide into like a half of paragraph. Two people can read. Maybe Anil Prabhu, we want to begin like half over and then give it half that to Aditya.
Yes, Prabhu. 4.6, right, Prabhu?
Yes.
Yeah. Although I'm unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I'm the Lord of all living entities, by my internal energy, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. The Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many past births, whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few years before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet, uh, men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his prakriti or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as swaripa or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to other. The Lord, however, doesn't do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form with his two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by this material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body doesn't deteriorate like material body, he still appears that Lord Krishna goes from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly, he never ages beyond youth.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Prabhu.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's a good break to
Yeah.
let Aditya continue
Yeah, sure.
from there. Yeah.
Yes, sir. At the time of Battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still, he just looked like a young 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us, although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future. Neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that sun has set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge of his internal potency, and he is never contaminated by material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still oops, oh, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana with four hands and the decorations of the six kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is, and not on the mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks that the Lord's forms to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy according to Vishwakosa Dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all his previous appearances and disappearances, but a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, Lord is always the same, absolute truth, and is without differentiation between his form and self or between his quality and body. A question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse.
Thank you. So what is the difference between our body and Krishna's body?
Sir, it never gets aged and it remains same all the time.
Yeah. What remains same? Krishna's body?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Krishna is always same, means transcendental, always transcendental, right?
Yes, sir.
Never entangled in material world.
Material. Yes, sir.
Okay. So whereas we are in the material world, why we take birth? Because of our past karma. Krishna never have karma. Krishna is always transcendental. Why do we get karma? We have studied in the previous chapters that karma, we get the reaction of our activities. Every action has an equal opposite reaction, right? So whenever we do the activity under the purview of time and material modes, then we get reaction. When we are under the mode of goodness, we get we do the pious activity, we get a good result. When we are doing vikarma under the mode of passion and ignorance, we'll get bad result. We'll suffer in the next life. So in order to whatever the fruit we have gained by our activities, we have to enjoy or suffer in future. So because of that, we have to get a body, a suitable senses given to us depending on our past desires and past activities. We get suitable body to enjoy or suffer accordingly. We have a different body than a fish body. Fish is very comfortable in water. We are comfortable in air. Similarly, there are some living entities, they are living in very hot climate. Some living entities, they are living, the polar bears are living in like very, very, very extreme cold condition. So depending on one's karma, one gets the body. And we are forced to change the body. Lord Krishna is never forced. He says in this verse, Sambhavami Atma Mayaya. So I am appearing because of my own pleasure, my own internal energy. Because of I am always under control. I am the controller of everything. So Maya is not forcing Krishna to take a material body. But there is a certain section of philosophers, they are called Mayavadis in India. The Mayavadis think that Krishna's body is like God's body. They may not agree Krishna is God. They may or may not, I don't know. But they say when God takes a body, he also takes a body like a material elements. But here Krishna is saying that no. I am appearing in my own nature under my own internal potency. I am unborn, but I simply appear. And my body never deteriorates. He says like, I am Abhyaya Atma. My body never deteriorates. It never comes under the material modes. It does not go the transformation like a material transformation. Material things like they appear, they grow, they go in 6 stages like the material bodies we have studied. That they grow, they stay for some time, they produce offsprings, they dwindle, they die. So these changes never happens to Krishna. So Krishna always remember. Krishna is always eternal. We are also eternal by nature. The soul nature is eternal. But soul is not the controller. Krishna is a controller. Although we may have similar quality, but we don't have the quantity. So we are different from Krishna in quantity. But quality wise, the soul is also by nature eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. But we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is a controller and we are controlled. We are Anu, like a small particle. He is Vibhu, he is the complete whole. So we are his part. So we have to understand this Krishna's Prakriti, Krishna's nature. That he is always transcendental. He is never conditioned into material nature. He appears and disappears like sun appears and disappears. His body is never finished. He's never dead. Like this body is rotten. Our body is generated by the material elements. After death, again it will merge into the soil. It may be decomposed, and again all the elements again merge into the material nature. But Krishna's body never made of material elements. So there is no question of spoilage of his body. Always spiritual thing never spoil. The soul never gets spoiled. Soul we studied in chapter 2. The soul is always eternal. It cannot be cut into pieces. It cannot be burned by fire, not by water, withered by water, not by blown by air. All these qualities of soul we have studied. So Krishna's body is also like our soul's nature. Krishna's body has the same feature as our soul has. So there is no difference between Krishna's body and Krishna's soul. That's the point here. Okay, so the discussion now. Hare Krishna, Deepa Mataji. I think you joined late.
Yeah, Prabhu.
Didn't see you timely, but did you get the point, Mataji, that today we discussed that Lord Krishna never forgets his past birth? Because Arjuna is asking a question, how come you look like you are my age? How come you gave this knowledge to sun god Vivashwan? And Lord Krishna clarifies that, Arjuna, you and me, we have taken several, lifetime before. You had several births. You and me, we had several births. But my birth is not like your birth. He says that I appear by my own internal potency, by my own pleasure. I'm not forced to take certain body by karma. I'm always in full control. I'm always aware of the time and place, and for me there is nothing to forget. But for you there is a change of time and place and body, and you forget. So that's what it is clarifying. Lord Krishna is clarifying that he is always transcendental. There is no difference between his body and soul.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Mandir. Sorry, I didn't see you also.
Hare Krishna.
Maybe I was not seeing everybody who was participating. So excuse me, I might have missed you to ask, request you to read, volunteer to read, but Mandeep, I'm sorry, maybe you joined from the beginning, right, or late, or what?
Late join, sir. Late join.
Okay, so did you get the point today? Can you share what you got from today's take-home message?
I got this point, the difference of the Lord Krishna's body and our body. We are the soul, the part of the God, and He is the ultimate God, who is persistence from beginning to the end and never change. He knows everything. And we, like the Arjuna, is taking birth every birth, and they have lessons from last so many births, and they took many births, and every time they were together. So he is just understanding him the funda of the body and soul.
Great, very nice. Yes. So although Arjuna is pure devotee of Krishna, he is a constant companion of Krishna, but he forgets, because that's the difference between Krishna and a jiva. So jiva may be like a liberated jiva, but still, even a liberated soul is not equal to God. A liberated soul, like the Mayavadi, again the philosophy of Mayavadi is that Mayavadi philosophy says that God, when he is conditioned by material nature, then he descends, and then all the avatars, they have material body, like that they think. So like you also, you have a material body. As soon as you leave your body, you become one with God. You become God. That is the false conception they give. So that we have to very clearly understand that we never become God. We are part and parcel of God. We are always servant of God. We are always children of God. Krishna is always in control. We are always controlled by him. Whether we are in the material world or spiritual world, Krishna is always the controller. Thank you. Okay. So other points? Anil Prabhu, you make good points. Any question or comment? Or...
Yeah. So like Krishna will remember. I mean, Krishna will not change his body, and like whereas like we human beings change our body from birth to birth, and and Krishna can remember all his past, and we don't remember anything like 2 hours before what we have done, like those kind of things. So I mean, like Krishna always lives in this, I mean, spiritual world, but we as human beings, if we live in the material world, like it's hard to, I mean, we have to balance both material world and spiritual world. That's what I can add.
We have to balance. Actually, this material world is a subset of spiritual world, Prabhu. It's like a bubble inside the spiritual world, right? So
Yes.
we are actually, in fact, we are all in the spiritual world, but we have put a layer around us, right?
Yes.
That the layer that we learned in the last chapter, that layer of this ignorance. So when we remove that layer, like that we get established in the transcendental knowledge, and Lord Krishna will help to gradually move that. That's why this chapter is transcendental knowledge. Like when we get into that, like we realize our relationship with Krishna, right? So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else? Any other point? Lalina Mataji, you came after a long time. So you have anything to?
Yes, Prabhu, I was out of town.
Oh, welcome back.
Thanks.
Hope everything is fine in family.
Yes, Prabhu. Went to New Vrindavan too.
Wow, you're so lucky.
Yeah, Prabhu, it was my first visit, but I really liked it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, one of the students here suggesting that we should go to New Vrindavan. Hopefully, Krishna fulfill our desire by your blessing.
Yeah, Prabhu, it's very hard to get the accommodation. It was all full, so we had to stay 30 minutes away, basically.
Okay, okay.
It has to be planned really ahead. That's what I realized.
Okay, thanks for giving me that point. We have to really plan in time.
Yeah.
So Mandeep, get ready. Prachi, get ready, and Aditya, maybe you can also come, and so all of us again we can go, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, definitely.
Deepa Mataji, how far is New Vrindavan from your place?
Actually, I'm new to this place. I'm not. I don't know much about it. I'll Google and search.
Okay, you are in North Carolina, you said, right?
North Carolina. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's somewhere in the mid.
It's 3-4 hours drive. Are you?
I'm near
are you
Raleigh. Near
Okay,
Raleigh.
3 or 4 hours drive.
Okay, well, definitely.
Mistaken.
Yeah.
But it's not that bad. You are closer to New Vrindavan than us.
Okay.
Definitely.
Sure.
Nice. Krishna Janmashtami is coming, and we are learning about Lord Krishna's birth, that Lord Krishna is not taking birth like us. He appears in his own transcendental form. That's what we are learning. And actually, he appeared in his four-arm form, and later he transformed into baby form. to give pleasure to his parents and all the devotees, and he performed the pastime, so many wonderful pastime to help devotees absorb in his lila, absorb in his Lord Krishna's pleasing pastimes. So yeah, the time is coming. In 2 weeks we have Janmashtami. So it's a very nice topic we have. Like if we can read up to today's, we read up to 6. Yeah, next time we can read up to 9, 10. So it's really giving us a good, good understanding of it. Okay, anybody has any final point, or we are okay, or any? Okay, seems we are good. Thank you so much for your participation, your enthusiasm, and please don't miss very, very important slokas coming in this chapter. Extremely important, and Janmashtami is very relevant. So please keep blessing us and keep coming. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you.